You don't appear to be exclusively Makita, but I see a lot of Makita tools with you. And I have a quick story where I never had anything against Makita, didn't really know anything about them either way, hadn't really
Mhm.
used many of their tools. And I'm a big jigsaw fan because I got my first power tool ever in my life was the fourth grade. I got a jigsaw for Christmas, and I proceeded to try to build an entire shop out of a chicken coop with it in the backyard. And I've used jigsaws my whole life ever since. Like I was a guy up until I started this handyman business. I was not good with a skill saw. I never used a skill saw because I had figured out the jigsaw at such a young age that that's all I ever used. And I went and had to go buy. I had a cordless jigsaw, and it was some off brand that I had gotten for cheap, but I had this cordless jigsaw go bad, and I was like, "Oh crap! Okay, I need to go buy a jigsaw." I didn't have much money, so I didn't have enough money to go buy the DeWalt cordless. So
Mhm.
instead, I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna buy a corded jigsaw today," because I was just so broke that I needed a jigsaw. It had to be there, so I went and bought the cheapest corded jigsaw I could find at Home Depot, which happened to be Makita. They just didn't have much of a selection at all. I don't think it was that Makita was cheap. It's just
Yeah.
that was like the only corded jigsaw they were carrying. Man, let me tell you something. I've used a lot of jigsaws in my life because I like them so much. I've never used a jigsaw as smooth as that Makita. Man, that thing felt so tight and just like compact and heavy with such a lack of like unnecessary vibration. It was like I was just holding a tool that wasn't on, but
Yeah.
it happened to just be slicing through the board anyways. So I'm curious what your take is on Makita. I don't know if you're with Makita because you just got a good deal on them years ago, or if you tried out a lot of brands and that was the one you settled on. But I want to know what you think about that brand.
It is the brand of choice. I didn't really have a preference when I first started getting tools. I didn't really have a preference. I had a couple of I had some DeWalt, like I had a DeWalt reciprocating saw that was like, but it was had a plug. I had I had a Milwaukee circular saw that was plug in. I had a Makita something. I don't even know what it was now. I know I had a jigsaw, Makita, and nah, even my first multi tool was a was it Rockler? Rock something.
How long
But
ago was that? Your first multi tool?
man, it probably wasn't too. It's probably 8 8 years ago.
Okay, because they were junk 20 years ago.
Okay, nah, I wouldn't.
But
It
I
was
don't mean
nothing.
to interrupt, though. Go ahead
No,
and
no,
tell
you
me
can go.
more
Yeah,
about the Makita thing.
yeah, yeah. But I just kind of gravitated towards them. I always heard they were quality, and then when I started something about DeWalt, I had used DeWalt a lot, and not that I wouldn't use it. There's nothing wrong with it. It was just, you know, when I did work in construction, a lot of stuff using DeWalt is kind of ubiquitous.
Hmm.
Um, I just I don't know what it was about Makita, but they did have a special. Home Depot will have those Christmas specials where it's like you buy this set, you get another tool for free.
Hmm.
So I took advantage of that, and I got the well. No, what happened at first was I was doing a job, and I was redoing this. I mean, it was from like the early 1900s. It was a shed, huge pole shed, and the top floor or whatever the up part of the shed, I was redoing it, and I tried with my little cobalt drill. I tried to drill into the wood, and this is like real wood, not not what we have now, but this is
Yeah.
man the some inside the drill broke. That's how that's how hard the wood was, and I was like, man, I got to get something commercial, like professional grade. I got all these cobalt tools, so then I ended up going with the Makita, and once I got it, it was like, okay, these things are wonderful. And I just started, you know, everything Makita. Then you get on the battery system, and then it's just I just everything Makita. Now some stuff is a little pricey, so I got the was it the cordless miter saw? It's like
I
it takes
saw
two
that.
batteries.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah, and I had a deck. Matter of fact, it was that what I was telling you earlier about that the lady who had the decks in a day. A
Hmm.
deck I had to redo. Well, she also had bad outlets outside, So she's at work. I didn't have anywhere to plug in,
Mhm.
so I found that saw and I was like, I had one all the way to New Jersey to buy it because the only place they had it in stock.
Mhm.
And man, that thing's been it's been great. It's been great. Matter of fact, and then I ended up buying the smaller one. The one that's a 7.5 inch blade. That one's the 10 inch, then I got the 7.5 inch, which
Mhm.
I was using on the deck because it's just so compact. I could carry it anywhere. And it's still
Yeah.
a
Well, and
compound
if it's
slat.
sliding, then it doesn't really matter kinda, how like, you're not gonna be cutting crown molding with it probably because the blade just isn't gonna be able to make it all the way through at that angle, but outside of that, the
Yeah, but
fact that it's sliding, I mean, it doesn't matter if the wood's how far out does it slide? Will it do like a 2 by 12?
I'm pretty sure it'll do a 2x12. I know it'll do a 2x10.
Okay.
Um,
Which is about
so
as much as you're ever gonna need anyways.
yeah, because 2x12, only thing I ever use those for are stair stringers. I can't
Mm,
even think of another time that I used 2x12. So yeah, the it ended up working out great. So I just love the whole Makita lineup. Now they have a new line that just came. Well, not just came. It's been out for years now. This 40 Max that they're
mhm.
trying to incorporate, but I guess it's a big thing over in the UK. I don't think here they haven't made it big yet because
Yeah,
it's all so expensive.
yeah.
Even the miter saw, the one I got when I bought it, it was like 600. I
Mhm.
think now that those things are, 900 now for the just for the miter saw.
Yeah. I feel like one of the things they did was they started off, like a long time ago there was DeWalt, but there was also like the cheaper Craftsman and stuff. And everybody had like these, 9 and 12 volt cordless tools.
Yeah.
And then so, quickly they went from that they jumped up to 16 and then to 18 and then to 20 and there was this period of time where everybody suddenly it's almost like megapixels on cameras where the goal was just to be able to like announce the biggest number. So all
Yeah.
of a sudden, it was 22 volt, 24 volt, 28 volt, 36 volt, 48 volt. And it's like, okay, well, we don't need really more voltage. The
No.
voltage isn't what we need. We just need a tool that works correctly, that has enough power for us to do all the jobs we need to do. So,
Well, what sold me really on the because I used to do a lot of tile, and I bought that combo set. Now you got to buy, of course. What Makita does is, well, DeWalt does the same thing, where they sell levels. So it's like you could buy just 'cause you go buy a driver, impact driver, doesn't mean you're getting the best one. So you
yeah.
got to really watch. Okay, this is a lower model. It's not as strong as this one over here. It doesn't have much
Mhm.
torque. So I always get the highest level ones, and you can get the set. It's better to just get the set because you get it for like, I don't know,
Yeah.
300. I think it's like $400,
It
and
really
you
is
can,
usually a very significant discount if you go ahead and get a set.
yeah, yeah. And then, like I said, you get it during Christmas. You can get 2 extra batteries for free, or
Yep.
a whole nother tool for free.
Yeah. I upgrade
So
my DeWalt every year with the Home
yeah,
Depot sales. Whatever, they're always going to have something where you buy this and you get this. And I
yeah,
always do my math and I look at like what would that battery cost otherwise because that's what I did last year. Was I got a set that was like a 5 and a 6. No, it was a 4 and a 6 amp hour battery. So 10 amp hours total for
yep,
free. Or no, for $99 if I bought like this other tool. So I bought the other
yeah.
tool because I needed the other tool. And then I basically got those batteries for less than half price.
It's the best way to do it. Matter of
Yep.
fact, that's my plan this year. I got to get because I have 2 drivers right now. One of them, the button fell off, and I don't even know. I don't have a Makita contact. That's one thing I'll probably be doing soon is maybe reaching out to see if I can just get a contact where, hey, I do got a lot of their tools now. Certain tools I like other brands. Makita this year is supposed to be coming out with nailers,
Mhm.
but I didn't already went Milwaukee. Before that I had
Yeah.
Boston.
I saw that in your video too. That looked nice and compact too.
Oh, oh
And I
man, the
noticed you
Milwaukee
putting a
nailers.
lot of nails in with it. And you weren't
Mhm.
having to spend a lot of time between nails. It looked like you're just like pow, pow, pow.
Those Yeah, that's the first. I didn't have a powered framing nailer. My framing nailer was it was like a Husky. It was cheap,
Yeah, I'm still
and it just
pneumatic with mine, just like a
yeah.
cheap mine probably is Husky. It's Cinco or Husky most likely, but I'm still
Okay.
pneumatic on my frame and nailer.
Well, when I first started the business, I had just it was all pneumatic, and then I switched over to what was it, Bostitch. Bostitch was the first company that I saw. This is like 2018 that had you had pass load that had the little cartridges,
Mm,
and then they were the first ones that I saw that had a battery was Bostitch.
yeah.
And so I went ahead and bought them when I started, and they actually went great for years. They got to the point they weren't setting nails in, and man, I'd do crown or base boards, and it's
Yeah.
taken me an hour to just go back and reset the
With a
nails with the little
punch.
spring
Yeah.
nail, like,
Yeah.
oh, and I was
That's
like,
no
"Okay,
good.
I got it." So then I went and got the Milwaukee one, and of course, after I got the 18 gauge, went to the 16,
Yeah.
and now I got the 12, the framing, the 21-degree framing nailer.
Mm,
And I love those. So those are 3 Milwaukee tools I stand by. I still have a DeWalt stuff though. I have my table saw is DeWalt,
mm.
job site table saw. I had no reason to switch it. Like it's been good for years, and I'm hard on tools. I will
Yeah.
say, if I'm using it and it goes through the, I don't delicately place them and wipe them down and do all this.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're tools, man. I
Yep.
throw them in the truck, I throw them in the trailer, I throw them in the wagon, and and they last. So
Yeah.
those.
No, I'm the same way. When I was younger, I used to buy all my DeWalt. I would only buy my DeWalt with a case, because you could buy it like in a cloth bag or with a hard case. You could buy it with a charger or without, with batteries or without. I always, always, always bought my DeWalt in a case with a charger, with two
Yeah,
batteries, like the whole kit and caboodle. And it was nice.
yeah.
Like when I wasn't in construction or running a
Mhm.
handyman business, it was nice to be the guy that had all the nice, pretty clean cases and stuff. But now that I do this for a living, I got a big bin that says power tools. And
Yep.
anything that you'd call a power tool is just in that bin somewhere. And that's the way it is. They're all dirty. If I'm spraying some paint and I happen to see the tool on the ground and I'm spraying my way over towards the tool, I'm not going to stop what I'm doing and go move my tool away to keep the paint off it. I'm just gonna get some overspray on it, and that's all right.
It will. Mine had that caulk. I had caulk on my hands and stuff. Can't get it
Yeah,
all off. And, all right, I
yeah,
just grabbed the tool. It's just whatever, man.
yeah.
But that's what they're built for.
Hmm.
But I got sold on the Makita originally because the drill. So the driver was good, but the drill I was able to put. It's a hammer drill, but it was battery powered. But I was
Mm,
able to use it to stir up to like mix thin set for
yeah,
tile. And
yeah.
I was like, "This thing is having no problem with this battery." And
Hmm.
I got this. My old hammer drill was an old DeWalt with his, plugged in and everything. And I'm like, This battery power thing is having no problem
Yeah,
with a whole like an entire bucket full of thick thin set, and it's just
yeah,
you know stirring that stuff up with no problem. I was like, okay, this is impressive.
yeah,
So ever since then, that's really when I went, like I said, mostly all Makita.
yeah. And then
Um,
once, like you said, once you're on the battery platform, yeah,
it's
unless there's
hard to.
something off of that platform that you just really need that particular one that's not on the platform, you're probably just gonna go. If you need like a work light, you're gonna get a Makita work light, and if you
Oh
decide
yeah,
you want the next thing, you're gonna get Makita and the next thing.
yeah. The only thing, and that's the thing, because talk about battery. Because with the nailers, I have one battery
Yeah,
for those Milwaukee nailers, because the batteries cost so much, and I
yeah,
don't use them enough to. They actually the batteries last. I will give them that. I don't. I could charge up, and I was going with those nailers all day and never having to
yeah,
charge them. So they're good. But yeah, I got one battery shared across all 3 of those. But I probably got Makita batteries. I probably have 15 of them, just
yeah,
from buying tools with them over the years or getting the extra batteries and stuff. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm now I'm not locked in.
Hmm.
I like Makita, but you know, I
Yeah,
don't mind other.
I still feel like I'm in a position of trying to figure out what platform I want to be on. Because I'm
Yeah,
not stuck with DeWalt. Right now it's all DeWalt because that's my battery platform and it all works. But I'm not super I guess I'm heavily invested, but it's been a little bit of money at a time over a long period of time. So
Yeah.
I do still I have a funny feeling that I think DeWalt is a little too clunky for me. Like just the size and the shape. I feel like there's other, when I use Milwaukee, and I don't think I'll ever be a Milwaukee guy, but
Mhm.
when I use Milwaukee, it feels very tight and compact, and just ergonomically comfortable. And then I know Makita is generally known for also just being generally more tight and compact. And then Rigid, I feel like, is a little fat and clunky. Ryobi is fatter and clunkier, and even doesn't last as long. But I feel like if I went and looked around, which is why I wanted to ask you about the Makita, because I've had some good experiences with the very few Makitas I've touched, but
Yeah.
I'm not stuck to the DeWalt, and I feel like DeWalt was something a long time ago, and I don't know that they're that anymore. Like what my last, not my last, but I've got two DeWalt drills right now. One of them's a hammer drill. No, sorry, I've got three, but I gave one to my son. But out of the three, one of my drills, which is not the hammer drill, just a drill, it's got this stupid thing where if you run it at full speed and then let off, it's got a clutch to slow it down. Well,
Yeah.
when that clutch kicks in to slow it down, it will back the chuck off of your bit. So then your bit falls out. And I'm just like, well, this is, and granted, it was the cheapest one. It was their like 99, it was the one you get for free,
Yeah.
if you buy another tool. Or if you
Uh-huh.
bought it by itself, it was $99. Even when it wasn't on sale, it was only 99. But I just feel like they're not quite what they used to be. So I'm always open to new tool platforms. In fact, I'm going to Denver November 18th for some stuff with Jobber, and one of my guys, Noel Hopkins, is in Denver, and he's on the Ryobi One platform. And I have to
Okay.
say, I'm not a fan of Ryobi, but I don't know that I've ever tried. Apparently, Ryobi One is supposed to be a more professional line of tools from Ryobi. So I'm
Okay.
gonna have Noel bring some of his Ryobi tools just so I can test them out while I'm there as well. But yeah, I'm still open in terms of platforms. I like DeWalt a lot. I think they're probably it's like the equivalent of like buying a Ford Taurus. Like if you own a business and you need to buy some cars like for your employees to drive around inspecting houses or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
buying a Ford. Like it's not the nicest car you can get, but it's also not like a cheap Nissan Versa either. And that's what I feel about, DeWalt is I feel like DeWalt's just kind of like, hey, we make all the stuff. It's not going to break most of the time. It's not going to fall apart. It's not going to be the highest quality you ever had, but it's not going to be the lowest. And you can afford it. And all the parts are available and the service is available.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's why a lot of people use DeWalt because it's one of those things that's ubiquitous. It's just it seems like it's everywhere and you can get it serviced. Um, that's the thing. You can probably get the Makita service, I'm assuming. See, I don't even know because
Because it's a
I
good
never
tool and
really
you
have
haven't needed to.
yeah, I haven't really needed to. And the times that I've had to buy a new drill or something, most of the time it's my fault.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I know, you can't leave them, which is probably most of them, leave it out in the rain too long,
Yeah.
especially the drills. Then they just rust and you can't get it to open, you can't get a chuck to turn or whatever.
Mm.
And it's probably it probably can be serviced, but I don't have time to wait. So I just go out and get another
Yeah.
set.
Yeah.
So I end
And
up
they're
with
not too expensive. You have to look sometimes at what your time is worth too, and just go, if this is
yeah,
gonna take 2.5 hours out of my life and my time's worth $100 an hour, can I just replace this for $99 tool only instead of investing $250 worth of my time trying to get it repaired?
yeah, yep, yep. So Home Depot's and that's like I say, another thing with Home Depot, they have all the brands. So I never tried like you said, I don't even think I've tried a Ryobi. The new brand Flex, I've seen people mess with that. I
Don't
never
know
tried a
anything
Flex.
about it, but I wanna try it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other ones, you got DeWalt, Craftsman, the newer Craftsman, whatever, which is, you know, kind of sketchy. But so I don't know. I don't know. I guess I kind of just ran with it, at least on the power tool side.
Mhm.
Now I other things I like, so like sanders. I go with Festool.
Mm.
I have those sanders. I mean, and I had DeWalt, but it wasn't like a professional sander.
Mhm.
You know, the DeWalt sanders I had were,
No,
and I have
Festool is professional. Festool is if I could own everything in Festool, if I was just a rich guy who could
yeah.
outfit my whole shop with Festool, that'd be pretty awesome.
Well, yeah, because I was just saying the Makita miter saw costs a lot, but man, that was it K-Pex or K whatever the miter saw, the Festool miter saw was, that was 11-1200 a couple years back. I don't
Yeah.
even know what it costs now. So yeah, yeah. I mean, now I do, for the most part though, like the Makita, that the track saw is probably like my favorite thing ever because it's
Mhm.
just, you were talking about before how the jigsaw was so smooth.
Yeah.
I mean that track saw is, and I don't have Makita tracks. I use a different brand of tracks, and but that saw is probably my favorite tool that I have. It's wonderful.
That's cool.
But yeah, that's where I'm on the tools.
That's
Yeah.
nice. What do you switching subjects again? What do you think about marking up materials? And to be clear, when I say marking up, I don't mean charging a little bit extra. I don't mean rounding up a little bit, and I don't mean what do you think about making sure you're reimbursed for your time. But what I mean when I say marking up is what do you think about just having a percentage that you just add to all your materials?
I don't I see it as, depending on what you do, it can be necessary. So I know like electricians and plumbers, I mean, I know they have to mark up the materials. It's literally part of the business model. Now for me, I don't, um but it's not because I'm against it, more so. It's more so I don't like to track. I don't it's just some, for me it's just something else to track. So I don't really worry about marking up. I add money though.
Mhm,
So it might not be for material. If I'm getting the material for the job, then I add an acquisition and delivery fee.
mhm.
Plain as day, they see it
Yeah.
right on there. I just don't need to mark up. I don't, and normally I'm not buying enough materials anyway. If I was building a house or if I was doing some major thing, but the deck project, they bought the material.
Mhm,
You know, I basically put together a list, said, here, take this to Home Depot to, the guy that the desk, the pro desk or whatever,
mhm.
order it all and have it all shipped here. And we don't even have to, I don't
Yeah.
have to think about it. You have to think about it. It's
Yeah,
just,
because they deliver if it's over a certain amount, they deliver for free, don't they?
yep. Yep. And he got some extra stuff because he got a bunch of points because he did it all on his pro account, or not pro account, but on his Home Depot account.
Nice.
So it worked out best, man. What I thought was funny is years ago when I was working at Lowe's, I used to talk to contractors, man, and I'd be like, man, I'd love to be that guy, man. You just free, just in here getting the stuff that you need for the day. You just, I want to have that feeling of just, yeah, I get up and I'm going to get my materials, man, for the job that I got for the day. Let me tell you something, I'm over it. If I don't ever have to go buy another piece of material
Yeah.
for somebody, if the customer wants to do it, I'm all about, hey, it's your materials, you get them.
Yeah.
If you want to, I'll get them. But I'm over the whole materials thing, as a general rule.
Mhm.
But when I get them, I charge a fee for it, and I let them see they know what they're being charged for, so they
Yeah.
can decide. Well, I just go pick them up myself and do it all. Okay, okay, that's cool. Like if you could save my time and just have it all here when I get here, I, that's fine. What difference does it make to me? Like I'm getting paid. If I don't want to have to do your shopping for you. I'm not the Instacart guy, so
Yeah.
unless I have to. I'm with you though, where I keep an inventory.
Mhm.
So I do keep an inventory of a lot of stuff. But as far as just marking up materials, nah, I don't. I don't really. I don't mark anything up. I mark it up where I mark, like, no, it's not even a markup.
I
I might
round up
add,
sometimes. Like if I
yeah,
spend $97 on materials, I might call that 100. Or
yeah,
if I spend $9.37, I'm probably just gonna say $10. But I'm not adding I'm not saying 100% markup or 50% markup. I'm not doing some formula where no matter what the material is, I paid this much, and then I add this percentage every time.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, I get if I'm a builder or somebody and I have to, because essentially you're operating as a store
Mm,
is the idea, So, now my electrical company or has all these products and now I'm selling them to the customer.
mm,
So I'm like a store, you're just buying them from me now. So
yeah,
I got to add my markup just like any store adds a markup to their material. So I get it. I just don't for me it's just sometimes it gets a little tricky with materials with customers
yeah.
because sometimes you mark up and it's why a lot of contractors are really vague with their invoicing or their estimates where they put every like a lot of stuff on a piece of paper and they just have a price. You don't really know what you're paying for. You kind of do. I've had customers show me their what the other contractor gave, and I'm like, man, you got no information on here,
Yeah, yeah.
and I
You
get
just
it
can't really
because
figure anything. And if you can't figure it out, then you can't figure out where they're screwing you either.
that's the whole thing. I get it. If you got this toilet, and then the customer goes online and like, why is this toilet is $120? Like, why is this thing costing me $700 for this toilet?
Yeah.
You know, um, I get it. I get it. So to avoid that conversation, we just, you do
Yeah.
vague.
Then you're transparent.
Yeah. So for me, I don't have to worry about that. It just takes something else off the table. I'm still making the money. I'm not going shopping for free. Um, you know, I charge a substantial fee for if I got to do the shopping for you. And
Mhm.
I tell them that, like, yeah, yeah, it takes a while to, do somebody to just go shopping for stuff, man. It takes
Yeah.
and if I have to go get stuff, then I gotta load it on the cart,
Yeah.
load it into the truck, then load it into I'm moving that thing 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
I can't do that for free.
Mhm.
So yeah, I just avoid the markup though, just because it makes it easier on my end.
Yeah. Um I'm gonna guess, this is just my guess, but I'm guessing you probably don't charge for estimates because you're mostly referrals and you tend to know your clients more. But so, number one is, do you charge for estimates ever? If so, under what situations do you or don't you? And if you never do, how do you protect yourself against window shoppers who are taking up hours of your time wanting estimates for like bathroom remodels, who really don't intend on remodeling their bathroom? They just want to know what it would cost.
Yeah, well, I'm of the mind frame where when it comes to stuff like that, yeah, you got to charge.
Okay,
You
so
got to
you do
charge.
charge for your estimates.
Yeah, especially if they're
Oh, that's
well,
good.
yeah, it's if they're long time customers,
Mhm.
and I know, like I said, they're customers that I've done project after project after project, and they tell me already that look, this is the next one's coming.
Yeah. Yeah, you
So
don't charge for those.
no, no, I don't worry about those. Which is at this point, which is most of my customers.
Mhm.
There was a time I did free estimates, and
Yeah.
I learned the hard way that you just can't. You
Yeah.
just can't. There's a reason why when I was working at Lowe's that for somebody to come out and measure your door, they're gonna charge you $50 for a detail.
Mhm.
It's just how it goes,
Yeah.
So, but that's because I did start doing like at first I started doing if an estimate had me doing work. So in order to measure for a door for real, you really got to take off the trim to measure the opening
Mhm.
properly. Well, if I got to start pulling off your trim, I need to be making some money.
Mhm.
So that's when I first started doing it. Is if I'm doing real work. After a while, I had so you talking about window shoppers. I had a lady tell me just straight up that I was I was unprofessional. I didn't get her the estimate, right? And that it is true. I didn't even give her the estimate, but it's because it was like the third time they called me,
Yeah.
and I went out. I did the estimate the first time, did the estimate the second time, the third time I went out, and they told me just straight up. And I go in the house, and the room that I did the estimate for the first time, that bathroom's done.
Yeah, somebody
Okay,
else
well,
did it.
yeah, yeah. I walked by, but I never heard back from them.
Yeah.
I did until they needed another estimate.
Yeah.
Walked past another room. Okay, yeah, that closet, the driveway. Okay, that's all done. They told me straight up, yeah, well, the insurance company said we needed 3 estimates. Okay. And then I left and I had an issue with that. So I didn't even I just like, you know what? Never mind. I'm not even giving them an estimate.
Yeah.
Then she sent me this text about how it's unprofessional. It's my job to I'm supposed to give them an estimate. It's what I'm supposed to do. And it was like, okay, these people are crazy. They're
Mm.
just entitlement on steroids. There should be that to me, there's no I don't even know how we got here. Well, I get how we got here. So people were trying to sell services and trying to get business. But the thing that to me, doing stuff with no with when somebody has no skin in the game, you know,
Mhm.
so the when the customer that's why I'm big on deposits. I see online a lot of people, a lot of customers are spreading this word where it's like, nah, it's shady contractors. You don't take the don't never give them
Yeah.
deposit.
Yeah, right? I've been seeing that too. That's just in the last year or two. I've been seeing that as like a red flag that your contractor is going to screw you over, is asking for a deposit being a red flag. And I'm like, I ain't doing any large job for you without a deposit. Even my longtime clients, I
No, no,
don't
no.
do large jobs. Like if somebody wants like full interior paint, my company's not doing that without a 50% deposit.
No, because my thing is, it's if it's all about liability, what business model is it where you're going to take 100% of the liability on you as the
Mhm.
contractor?
Yeah.
Like, so I go to your house, I buy all of these materials, I do the whole job, and then you decide
Yeah.
whether you're going to pay me or not. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
That's just crazy. And I haven't had it often, but I have had times where I didn't get paid that other half of that money.
Yeah.
It has only happened 3 times that come right to mind. And luckily, they were all small jobs. And I saw the flags, man. I saw red flags, and I just like at the time I was like, man, I need this job. So
Mhm.
I made sure they had gave me a deposit, and I was right because I didn't get the other half of that money. But that's the whole thing. It's like there's 2 sides to this. So I'm all about there's no way I could run a business and be totally liable for the entire project. I'm like, you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, or no, you go to Lowe's, you got to pay 100% up front.
Yeah.
You want your deck built, you want your door installed or whatever, they won't even schedule you
Mhm.
until you paid 100% of the contract.
Yeah.
I'm just asking for 50.
Mhm.
I'm asking for 50 because I have a lot of work to do before I get to your house.
Yeah.
So my work doesn't start when I get there. That's part of it, but just me shopping for your materials, me doing all this stuff, it's
Yeah.
all work.
Yeah. And it's not
So,
hard at all to do, when you're doing estimates, it's not hard to spend before you've learned the lesson that you should probably charge for them. It's
oh,
not unusual. You could spend a half of a week, like a Monday through Friday. You could end up spending 2 full days, even up to 3 full days out of that week. Especially when you're new, you're
oh,
online, you're looking up prices for things, you're trying to figure out like, oh, is that the right window? Is that a dual pane? Okay, this is all the stuff. I'm going to need all of this. You're making your list, you're thinking through the job. You're like, this is going to take me, they want me to like remove this wall and put something else back and put a window in it. So I think it's going to take me 4.5 days to do this. You spend 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours on one big estimate,
mhm.
and then you give it to them, and you do that for 3 other jobs that week, and you give everybody their estimates, and you spend half the week at a desk instead of generating revenue, and then nobody hires you. And then you're like, oh shit, what do I do now? Because now you didn't make any money, and you didn't get those jobs, and you didn't
Oh,
get the deposits that were going to come with them. And at some point your brain just goes, I have to charge for estimates. I need to be billable. If I'm doing work, I need to be billable. Except in the situation you mentioned, which is your longtime loyal clients that have a history. For you, they have a history of hiring you. For me, it's property managers that I know have a history of getting the homeowners to say yes. Who've
yeah.
told me the homeowner says, I want 2 more estimates, and they say, well, you can go get yourself 2 more estimates if you want, but I've gotten you the one estimate from the guy that I know is going to get the job done no matter what, for the price that he said. and who always has, every single time for the last 4 years, done exactly what he said he was going to do
Mhm.
correctly for the price he said it was going to do it for. So if you want more estimates, you go get more estimates and you decide who to hire. And then they say, okay, give it to your guy. Those property managers, they get free estimates because I know I'm getting that job. Or if I don't get that job, it's going to be a rare occasion that I don't get that job.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yes, yes. I couldn't tell you how much running around because when I first started out, my work area was it was probably I went like an hour in every direction. Like it was
Yeah.
to get work. And I would have people calling me for the smallest things. It'd be yeah, my storm door is not closing right. I'm like, all right, well, if you can send me a picture, well, I think it'd be best if somebody came out here to take a look at it.
Yeah. Give me an
I'm like,
estimate. Can you come out here and give me an estimate to figure out my door that's not closing right? Like if I'm just
yeah.
I'll just fix it
And,
while I'm there.
but that's not what they just want to estimate. And some of them were just it was the most disrespectful. Like it got to the point where I was like, okay, I can't keep doing this because I'm coming across as the guy up the street, because I'm just coming out for anything. The
Mhm.
customers calling me for no specific, just yeah, my sliding glass door, it's not rolling right. I was like, well, it's probably the wheels. Well, yeah, I just like somebody come take a look at it. I for what?
Yeah.
It has wheels. Either the wheels work or they don't.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
just
There's
no, I
really
don't
not
want
other stuff that's gonna cause this to not work well. It's gonna be the
no,
wheels.
no. So we can either start doing this thing where, like I said, so I would be like, well, yeah, well, I don't really have time to stop out there and just take a look. And as far as estimates go, we charge for them. Even when I have my little refrigerator magnet on the truck, I do not put free estimates on there. It just call me for an estimate. I ain't say it's gonna be free.
Mhm.
So I'll do it for yeah. If you can send me pictures, like for drywall repair, I've done so many of them.
Yep.
I have people send me a picture, and if it's on the ceiling or wall, I was like, hold, I need you to take your phone and hold it up. If you got, especially if you got somebody else with a phone, or take your hand, do something
Yeah.
to put in the picture for reference.
But
And
banana
I have
to
people,
scale.
yeah, I had people that did that before. I would send me this picture and it looks all little, and I'm like, man, this thing look. There was a human being. Y'all, somebody must
Yeah.
have been put through the wall somewhere.
Yeah.
So nah. So those I've been able to get to the point now I can estimate those
Yeah. Yeah, I
off a
do
pic.
free estimates if I don't have to go to the property to do the estimate.
Yeah,
Or
yep,
I do
yep.
them if they can approve some other work. So if there's like a toilet that's running nonstop and they need an estimate, I'll give you the free estimate if you send me just literally anything at all. If I can charge my trip fee for going to the property and doing something, then you're not paying for the estimate. Because the homeowners don't want to see a charge. When a homeowner for a property management company, when the owner of that home sees that they paid a handyman $125 for an estimate, they get mad. So it's
Yeah.
better for the property manager if they can find literally like a hose bib that's dripping in the backyard or something for me to fix. So I could just bill for that and then give the estimate for free.
Well, what I do, and some customers don't. They look. They're not haven't been fans of it. Oh, I've gone to houses, and I have had people that, man, they had okay. First, they told me they wanted me to come out here and look at this one thing. Then next thing I know, I got a list of like 10 projects they want me to give estimates for. So I'll give you one.
Yeah. One
I give
price
you
for the
one.
kit and caboodle.
No, 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 no. I don't even do that. I'll give you one price for the first day. What I came here for. I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
doing 10
Yeah.
estimates. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
doing 10 of them just because you want to see the price of it.
Yeah.
I'll do one, and if that whole thing goes fine, we'll go from there.
Mhm.
So how about we just start? You don't want to do all of it now anyway. How about we start with this one? We'll start with this one project
Yeah.
because I'm not going to charge you even then. Even if I charge you for that estimate, and you trying to sneak in 10 more, I said, nah, we're not going to do that. So let's focus on the project, the first one that you wanted done, the main let's get the priority taken care of. And then if that goes right, you're happy, I'm happy, we're all because I consider it a partnership. I don't consider myself really yeah, technically I guess you could say I'm working for them, but I might be, but I don't consider them the boss. If you, do you understand what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're the they're the owner. They they get to say what they want,
Yeah.
but then to me, I look at it's a partnership. Like you need my services, I need the money. We can work together to get the
Yeah.
project done. This ain't a dictatorship. This ain't like you gonna tell me what time to be there, what time it is. We're not doing any of that.
Yeah.
So I kind of have but that's a working relationship that I mean, I don't know, seems to work well with everybody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
I'm
agree.
with you. I do estimates, upfront pricing, where I have rarely. I'm trying to even think when I if there's nothing like there's a situation like the deck that I just did where the price had to change, of course, because it just started out with stairs, and then of course it had to change it to a whole deck, turn into a whole big project. But 99% of the time, they liked I give them the price up front, and it never changes.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell
And
you
that
what I think the difference is, because the deck applies to this too, is this is my policy and my wording, but I feel like it's probably yours as well, even if it's not the same words, is my price isn't going to change unless we find something along the way of doing this job that I could not have foreseen. Not
yeah,
that I didn't foresee. There's a difference between didn't foresee
oh,
and couldn't have foreseen. If it's
huge
something that I
difference.
should have known to look for, that was
Mhm.
accessible for me to see, and I just chose not to look, that's on me. But like with this deck, they told you even who knows what you're gonna find once the stairs come off. The stairs came off and you found more clearly, so then that changed. But you didn't go in there and tell them the stairs are the only thing that's wrong here, and that's all the work that needs to be done. And plus, I would bet you still probably kept the price for the stairs, which was the original job. You probably still did the stairs for the same price.
Oh, yeah, 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 the
You just
stairs
had
was
to
like
add a deck to the stairs.
yeah, pretty much.
That's a change order.
Yeah, it's a crazy one. Even well, even the stairs, the price actually went up a little bit of the stairs. 'Cause it's funny because when I took the stairs off, they had, like, I don't know, they had some stadium stairs that went out on, like, an angle. It was some weird thing they were trying to do. They did it
Mhm,
wrong, but I get what they were trying to do. But they only had, like, it might have been 10, 11 feet wide, and they had, I don't know, 6, 7 stringers.
mhm.
So they had, like, 2-foot gaps between each one of the stringers already. So
Yeah,
it was just too wide. So just that, where I go in and now the new one I built, the staircase is 9 feet wide, but I use, like, 10 stringers.
nice.
So it's, like,
Yeah, that
really
ain't going
really sturdy.
nowhere.
Nah, nah.
That's
So I so then the price goes up because of that. But I even told them that when I was doing the stairs originally, that it feels like there's not enough stringers, so depending on what I find, I
mhm,
might have to add a little bit
yeah,
for, the extra material, but
yeah, and that's really key in this industry too, I think, is just, like, when you've got enough experience that you can start going into jobs sort of knowing in advance what things you might find wrong as you go through the job. Then you're in a position where you get to tell the clients ahead of time and just say, "Hey, here's what I'm expecting. Here's what I usually find. But just so you know, this might happen. This might." It's like an example I use a lot is flooded laundry rooms.
uh-huh.
Where 8, 9 times out of 10, a laundry room that got flooded, you're not going to find mold behind the drywall because it probably never flooded before. That one flood isn't going to grow some mold all of a sudden magically. But once or twice out of 10, you are. So then you can let them know in your estimate in advance, say, hey, when I go to remove the bottom 12 inches of drywall to replace that stuff, I'm going to look for mold at that point. And if I find mold, then here's how your pricing might change once we open the wall.
Mhm. Well, absolutely. Yeah, that's generally what I do. If I know something like I did a video not that long ago and I talked about estimating, like I gave an example of estimating a dishwasher. And for me, just something like that. It seems so straightforward, so simple, but I ran into so many different scenarios working with dishwashers. So sometimes, yeah, sometimes it's the first question I ask is the dishwasher next to the sink because if it's not, changes everything.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
yeah,
Yeah, I never thought about that. They're not always right next to the sink.
no, No, so if you're
That's gonna
doing a lot of
matter.
installs, yeah, and I used to do a lot of installs, so that changes the hose, that changes that changes everything as far as how to get it installed, how to get that hose over to the dishwasher, the water lines, everything. Then sometimes you'll run where, so where it's around a corner and it's how you gonna get this water line through this underneath this cabinet? You're basically almost fishing the water lines through and the stuff. It can
Mm,
get a little messy. I've had the worst one where I had to where it was a manufactured home, and they had it where it was no, it wouldn't, no, that wasn't manufactured, it was stick built, but they had directly, like, from under the house, had a water line going directly to the dishwasher from under the house,
mhm.
and it was like, well, this next dishwasher isn't the same dishwasher,
Yeah.
so now that water line is not in the right spot.
It's not coming up in the right place.
No, and it's sticking up too high for this new dishwasher. I can't even slide it. So I literally had to go under the house. I had to go to the store,
Yeah.
get plumbing and redo the plumbing. So it's just when I so something like just a simple dishwasher, I got like a list of just questions so I could really give them a definitive price. And I used to have when you talk about you have the kits, I had a dishwasher kit. That was the
Yeah.
only kit I ever had where it's like specifically for one task.
Yeah.
It was like everything I needed to install the dishwasher, including one of those, yeah, that dolly hand truck, yeah.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had one of the ones that had the where it would lay down and
Yeah.
sit flat, and I used to, man, be able to throw the dishwashers, wrap them up, and then roll it right
Yeah,
out the
it's
house.
got the wheels up by like where you would normally hold it. It's got the wheels there so you can lay it down and it's like a four-wheel
Yep,
thing to go through the house. That's cool.
uh-huh. Yep, strap it down, and then so I had a whole system for doing these dishwashers, so, yeah, I used to have a kit for that. But, yeah, you'd be surprised how many different scenarios when you start doing the installs, like, every day, um then you start running into things. But also, it's also part of what I was saying before about knowing what you're doing. Because I did run into like people doing double wall ovens. That, man, I don't know how many of those that I saw where whoever installed it the first time, people would be installing a new one, and I'd go there and look at the electrical box, and everything be melted, like the wire caps and everything,
Mhm.
the wire nuts, and then look at it. Well, that's because from the breaker they had aluminum wire, and then of course from the wall oven they had brass, or I mean copper, and they just twist them together and put the cap on it.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, the people think they got a bad because everything melted in there and now it's not working.
Mhm.
So there's different nuts you can get to put on there so you won't have that issue. There's split bolts is what I
Yeah.
usually use. But yeah, yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of getting off. I got off track a little bit. I know I took it.
Oh, no, it's fine. That's what we do. Next question for you. How much should I charge? The most
Oh,
popular handyman question in the world. How much should I charge for this?
it is. It is. The way I look at it, I do have a minimum of 125 is what I is like the base. Now, I'll be honest with you. There's times I don't charge the 125.
Mm,
But it has to be it's an extreme scenario. I think with dealing with existing customers, people that you've been dealing with for a long time, it's just a different animal altogether.
yeah.
Most
The
of them
people
don't
that
care.
keep your bills paid.
Yeah, yeah, and they I'm not their friend. Like they don't call me to do favors. They ain't nothing
Mm,
like that. But I don't charge them for the little stuff, especially when these are customers, man. Like they done referred me out. I've gotten so much work from, I almost feel like I owe them something because they promote me better than I could promote myself.
mhm.
So for them, I might swing by if they need something and do it for a very small amount of money. But for the most part, it's 125 is a rule, and I charge by the job. So I think the only way you can really start to know what you need is you got to get out here and do the work.
Yeah.
You got to get out here and do the work, and then start to understand what things cost, what time, what how much time they cost, or not how much time they cost, how much time they take to
Mhm.
get some of this work done. And then you can start to formulate, okay, This thing is going to be 6 hours. Then you got to start looking at what you need. What do you want to make? I'm big on asking that. So I did a video about that where, I said if I want to make, I don't know, 150,000 a year, well then I crush the numbers and this is what I need to make. Need if I want to make that. Because
Yeah.
me, somebody like me, I tell people it might be different than somebody who's 20, 25. If I would have started when I was 25, I might be the guy that's trying to make 300,000 a year. At 45, I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
I already know I'm not going to work enough. Part of why I do things the way I do is because I don't work every day, 12 months out of the year. I'm taking a week off here, a week off there, maybe half a week off, and I'm doing for stuff with the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a function tonight I got to go to at the school. It's just always something. So I'm more interested in making good money and then being able to do all the things that I want to do and still be able to put some money away and do what's necessary than making like the top dollar that I can and working around the clock.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just past that age. It's part of why I started YouTube. But yeah, I think I work backwards, and I know for me, on average, to make what I want to make, I need to make around 600 to 700 a day.
Mm.
So however that works out, and that's so with me knowing that, it just makes it really easy. So I get a job, I look at it. All right, this is a 4-day job. I want to make X amount per day. Say on this job, I'm like, okay, well, this is going to take some extra. This is some custom work. This and this and that. I might charge a little extra for it, and say
Mm.
it's going to be. I'm gonna charge $800 a day, and then that's that.
Mm.
So for me, that kind of stuff is totally fine. It just all depends on what I'm doing, whether it's a
Yeah.
bigger project or or what. So everything is its own animal for me. And also a lot of times on invoices, I separate um between professions essentially. So if
Okay.
I'm a paint, then that's its own line. If I'm
Mm.
doing a drywall, that's its own section. And
Yeah.
each one is a different section. So if you want to do the painting yourself, hey man, we'll just take the painting out. I didn't
Right.
discount it. I don't discount it and say, well, if you do the drywall, then the paint is a lower price. If you do it all together, here's the price for each thing.
Yeah.
I had it. Yep. So if you want to do the painting yourself, you look at it, you say, I don't want to pay that. Hey, that's fine with me. Go ahead and I hit the button, erase it, and we'll go to the next thing.
Yeah.
So that's normally how I do it. Um, but the pricing, like I said, it varies, but more than likely, I know I have a base, and a baseline is on average, say between 600 and 700 a day.
Yeah.
Now,
And I like that. That seems to be, I think, very reasonable because, $1,000 days are possible
yeah,
and $300
yeah,
days happen more
they
often,
happen.
than a lot of guys want to say. But I think that 6 to 700, I mean, that seems to be when I was 7 days a week, just leaving the house every single morning, go to Home Depot, like when I was just doing that handyman stuff, full board, day in, day out, at my peak. I feel like that was probably about my average, was like 600 a day. And then I had $800 days. I had some $1,000 days. I had some three or $400 days. But I feel like that 6 to 700, I think of that as $100 an hour for the time I'm spending on the job. Not the
Yeah,
time I'm spending going to Home Depot in the morning, not the driving time or whatever. But a day of work for me is like 6 hours on the job, 6 hours in the house with a tool in my hands, and I'm going home with about $600, which I feel like makes the pricing easy because then I can just look at a job and say, well, that's about a 3 hour drywall patch right there. So I
yeah.
know if I say 300 labor off the top of my head, I'm probably going to be pretty close, and I'm not going to be disappointed with how much money I made.
That's that's I'm pretty much the same way. Some jobs have things built in. That's one thing. Like I said, I used to do a lot of appliance repair, and they actually have a pricing book that the industry puts out. So,
Oh, nice. So you just go by the book price?
yeah, it makes it real easy, man. You could even just You're at the house. What's the price? Hold on a second. Open the book and flip to the. You don't even
Oh,
got to
that's
put it
cool.
on yourself. It's not even your. You're just saying this is the price from the book from the. It just is
Mhm.
what it is. So and that's why that is a very lucrative business because yeah, the repairs are costly and a lot of them are minuscule. They're pretty quick.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, a lot of the one thing that's crazy is I don't know if you ever heard of the Honest Carpenter. There's a handyman. There's a YouTube channel, the Honest Carpenter or something. He did a video one time, and I totally agree. It's called "Where Have All the Carpenters Gone?" And he did a thing about not going into carpentry. That's the
Mhm.
whole video was like he wouldn't go into carpentry, and that's the one thing I don't know what happened to carpentry in a lot of places where they're not paying what they should. And I was surprised the other day.
It's a
I
rare
used to work,
skill that not a lot of people have, and people
but
get mad that they have to pay for it.
yeah, even the states though. I looked the other day at the prevailing wages, or you get these rate job from the state,
Mhm.
and because my business, I'm actually certified to work commercial or residential in my state.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll get on the bids and look for the state jobs, maybe at a school or whatever,
Oh, right
and just
on, yeah.
yeah, just see what they have going on. I don't bid much because a lot of stuff it'll be too much for me by myself, but
Mhm.
see what they got. And I looked at the wages, like the prevailing wages for certain projects. You got to go with that. All the workers are going to make. They have a list.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd go up on the when I was working installation and we'd work at a school. You go up in there to have posted the prevailing wages of each
Mhm.
industry. And the carpenters keep going down every time I look. I just looked the other day, and the insulators, which I was, is $10 to $15 higher than what the carpenters are making on these sites now.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
strange.
understand what's going on. Everybody else done went up. Still the same guy at the top though. I don't know, man. These elevator mechanics, it's insane.
Yeah.
I
I
don't know
had an
who
elevator job just recently that
really.
I didn't do anything to because I'm not legal to, right? You have to be certified to work on
Yeah.
elevators
Oh yeah,
in
yeah.
almost every state in the country, but definitely here. But what I did agree to do was like, look, I can go to the house and hopefully figure out what's wrong for you. And I'm going to have to charge for that. But chances are I can't fix it. I'm like, if it's power to the elevator, I can fix that. If it's ground from the elevator, I can fix that. If it's not the elevator itself and the elevator won't work because the house isn't giving the elevator what it needs, I can fix that. But I can't fix the elevator. And I did. I showed up and I actually was able to diagnose it. Luckily, well, number one, even just the symptoms made it pretty easy, but there was also a board with little lights on it, and if you looked at each individual light and hit the test button and watched what the lights did, you could look up some codes. And basically, there was some position switches. Well, there was one position switch out. So the
Okay.
elevator didn't know that it had reached the bottom floor. It knew it wasn't at the top anymore, but it didn't know that it had fully come to a rest at the bottom. But the reason they sent me out to try to figure that out was because there was one company here that had any kind of availability at all for the next month, and they
Yeah.
wanted something like $11,000 retainer just to go out there and document, because before they'll work on it, they have to inspect it top to bottom because it
Yeah.
wasn't like within inspection from another company, and they wanted like $11,000 retainer to go look at it, inspect it, document it all, put it in their system, and that was going to cost some number of thousands out of that 11.
Yeah.
And then they would do the diagnosis for the repair and the necessary work, and then charge for that out of the retainer too, but without you ever getting a chance to say yes or no. So their
Mhm.
deal was like, you don't get an estimate, but if you ask us to fix it, then we'll fix it and charge you whatever we want to charge you, and you're going to have paid us 11 in advance. And then the next best option was a company out of Phoenix that didn't have any availability for like another 6 weeks.
That's it. I'm telling you. Sometimes I think back to when I was because I noticed that when I was like 2021 when I was when I was an insulator. So I would be on these sites and you'd see when I just looked at the prevailing wages, I think insulators are up to like $65 an hour. The Everybody is like, wait, and then there's the elevator technicians are like $120 an hour.
Yeah.
Everybody else is six. You might get to 70, certain welders or whatever, depending on what you're doing,
Mhm.
but they're just so far. And I'm just like, man, you can make a killing doing that.
Yeah.
But I just never thought the same thing where I live, man. It's like one company around here, and only like they're down at the beaches. But I'm assuming all places like hospitals, all the apartment buildings. I guess there might be one or two companies, man, that do all of them. So
Yep. And you gotta
yeah,
have 'em. You can't not have your elevator working in a hospital or an apartment or a, 12-story bank downtown. Your elevator's gotta work.
it gotta work. It gotta work. Man, this just makes me sometimes. I was like, man, why didn't I do that
Yeah.
when I first saw that wage back in those days? Why didn't I just find an elevator company, man, and go work there?
Yep, exactly.
I don't know, man.
Hindsight's 50. I wish I would have figured out how to do this handyman thing when I was the 2 times previous that I tried to do this, and apparently just never put any real thought or effort into it. Just think, "Man, if I'd have figured that out, like, 15 no, 14 years ago, the first time I tried to do this, if I'd have figured that out then, I wouldn't be working anymore. I
Man,
just wouldn't. I would
I'm
barely even be steering the ship anymore. The business would be running itself."
I'm so with you. I look back. I had a newspaper route when I was 11. Right, I'm one of the last groups of people that actually was throwing newspapers at the pouch, man, like
Mhm.
on the movies.
Yeah.
And now I didn't do it for that long because even at 11, I realized, man, you don't ain't no days off. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like newspapers delivered 365 days a year. On Christmas Day, you got to get up and deliver newspapers.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know what, this ain't a thing. So I actually started around when I was 12. I would go to people's houses and I would just rake leaves. Like it had a rake, and I would just knock on the door, and I was so cheap. I didn't know, at the time, you just trying to make some money. So I charged them like $5, man, to rake their yard up, and I did it, no problem. But I didn't have the thought process of because I was trying to figure out how to make money, even at 12, 13,
Yeah.
like trying to figure out how to make
You and
money.
me both. I used to paint rocks when I was, like, 9. I'd paint river
Yeah,
rocks and sell
yeah.
them to people as doorstops.
I mean, it was just where your mind was, right? You're just
Yeah.
trying to figure this thing out. But I didn't come from a business family. My father was Air Force.
Mm.
My mom was she was trying to figure it out too. She was
Yeah.
going to college, she was trying this, trying that. So, and they grew up, they grew up poor. So I didn't have that background. If just something as simple, I always think back, something as simple. That's why I feel like I'm one of the reasons why I'm on YouTube now. If I would have just heard like, hey man, won't you just save that newspaper money? Because I knew other kids at the school that were cutting grass.
Mhm.
But I didn't have my father was like, you ain't using my lawnmower.
Yeah.
Right. You don't tear it up.
Yeah.
But if I would have thought about it, I would have just okay, well, take my newspaper money and just go buy my own lawnmower.
Yep.
But just that, I just didn't have that little. I was always trying to find something. I was buying baseball cards, comic books, trying to looking at. I mean, I was all in the Beckett,
Yeah.
uh, in the pricing guys, trying to find a way to make money with this thing. But if I just had somebody just give me that little, hey man,
Mhm.
maybe if you just took that money and went and bought you a lawnmower, I'd have been making it. I was charging $5. We're talking about 92. I was charging $5 for a lawn. The guys that were cutting grass charged like 20.
Yeah.
I could have been making $20 a
When you
lawn.
could buy a lawnmower back then for, like, $65 too.
And right. But it just didn't occur to me. Just buy a lawnmower, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and that's one of the things I always think about is when I'm doing what I'm doing now, even especially on YouTube, is you don't know who's watching. That it could be all the things that you went through and you learned.
Mhm.
It could be that one thing that you didn't know that now, how you like, man, 14 years ago, you wish you would have known that and where you could have been. I had so many signs that were pushing me to get out there and do something. Even something as simple as you ever read that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, that Robert Kiyosaki.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, that's one of the books everybody reads. I'm not the biggest Robert Kiyosaki fan.
No,
Whatever.
I'm not either. I don't like that particular way of making money, although he's not wrong.
No, but what it all I'm a fan of that book is for it just makes you think differently.
Yeah. Makes you
And
realize you don't know a lot. You don't know what you don't know.
absolutely. I mean, that it did make me go and take real estate class. I was going to try to sell houses,
Mhm.
and stuff after I read that book.
Yeah.
But I didn't read it. I read it. I was probably 27, 28. But I was at a an event that one of my friends invited to me when I was like 19. And I remember the guy on the stage, or not, he went on stage, did somebody's house. It was one of those pyramid scheme companies. I think it was called, I forgot, I can't even remember what it's called,
I
but
went
it
to
was a
one of
pyramid.
those when I first joined the Air Force. Somebody invited me to something like that. It was like a free dinner.
Yep, yep,
Didn't
yep.
even know what the heck. It sounded like an awesome deal at first. I think I did figure it out before, the meeting was even over, but I remember when that was a big thing.
Yeah, yeah. But I didn't bite. That's the whole thing. I'm thinking, ah, man, he's just trying to get some more, people under him. But he mentioned the book, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
And if I would have just, it was put there for me to, like, I should have, if I just would have read it
Mhm.
then, I wouldn't have went with him, but at least would have opened my mind up
Mhm.
to other possibilities
Yeah.
sooner. It's just all those little things, man, that you don't realize at the time, or like I said, even now, after I done, maybe I could save somebody some time and some trouble in learning this business just by something, by me going up and wasting me driving an hour for free with no for to do an estimate on a storm door and then nobody being home because they just don't care because it's a storm door.
Mhm.
So it's not it wasn't worth my 2 hours of time to go up there and not fix it just for nobody to be there anyway.
Yep.
And I had to learn that the hard way over and over and over again, just because you don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
You just
Exactly.
you don't know somebody that's in business. I don't know. Now, luckily, since I've been doing this, I've met people. I had a job there where I met the guy that owns a pool company in my area, and talking to him, it was already weird because he called me off of Google, and I was like, man, this guy been in business for 30 years. He doesn't know nobody. He doesn't know who to call.
Yeah. Right.
Like, no, you don't. His guess is as good as yours. He don't know who to call either. So where he called me, and I was just talking to him, and that's one of the reasons why dealing with him, I do all cash everything. Like, I don't do credit for take tools and stuff like that. I try to, like, as I go. I'd rather, like what you were talking about, risk. Hey, the mortgage is just gonna have to be late
Mhm.
because I need this tool to do this job over here. But if I get this thing over here, then man, it'll set me straight. I won't have to buy it again, and I have it. Where these guys were like, man, 2008, he was like wiped out so many contractors and so many other people, and the reason why he stayed standing is because he had everything paid for.
Yeah.
Because somebody like him would have got hit real hard because he's a pool guy. Like, ain't nobody, in a recession, nobody's
No,
building pools.
not in a recession. Nope. No,
No.
sir.
So especially the biggest one, the biggest crash in history, and he made it, and all these other contractors folded because they had everything was done through credit,
Yeah.
all their trucks, all their everything. So you know, you don't know what you don't know, man.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah,
Well, Daryl, we're going on almost 3 full hours. So
all
it's
right, all right.
probably a good time to cut it off, but I do
Yeah,
still have this gigantic list of stuff I want to talk about. So if you're willing, I'd like to schedule, another one of these at some point. Doesn't have to be super soon. Um,
yeah.
but I
Oh,
appreciate you showing up for this and giving this much time. It's a lot of time you've given to me today.
no, like I said, I appreciate you. Appreciate your platform. Like I told you, I think listening to you, I really think we're kindred spirits in this whole thing, man. Like, and it's always amazing to me, things like that where we could have came up totally different ways,
Mm,
but somehow we're still mentally. I heard you say before, you're a fan of like Elon Musk, somebody like that,
mm,
where I'm the same way because I told you it's like I'm more like the with the polymath, the that
Yeah.
person, the people who are just multi-talented. He's one of the ones to me where he doesn't only make the stuff, he actually understands it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know
And
what I mean?
he
Like
writes computer code, and he engineers this, and he
that
engineers that, and he figured out how to be a CEO, and he figured out how to be a salesperson. Like he's doing
it's
all the positions at one point or another in all his companies.
yeah, there's just different levels to it, man. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I definitely appreciate your platform, man. I think it's good. It's good out here for all these guys out here trying to get started and get going. Even the guys that have been in it for a while, just to stay motivated and
Yep.
have a place to congregate, man. I think
Yep.
it's a good thing, man.
And I feel the same about you. I think if anybody's working for homeowners, you're who they need to be going and watching. You've got a you've got a smoothness and a coolness to the way that you sort of take all this on, at least watching your videos, where I can really feel the lack of stress coming from you. Because for me, this was all stress. For me, this was like I quit my job um, to start the business, didn't know what I was doing, which was okay. I don't mind. I'll do stuff I don't know how to do. But I quit my job, didn't know what I was doing, was getting it all figured out. Suddenly my wife within a month is pregnant, and we wanted to get pregnant, like we made that happen on purpose, but we thought it'd take a little while. And all of a sudden we got identical twins on the way. And for
Mhm.
me everything suddenly was stress and anxiety. For me it was like, "Oh god, I have to make this work. I have to generate revenue. I have to like hit the ground running 12 hours
Yeah,
a day, 7 days a week, lots of stress." And while I was still in, I'm not in that phase anymore, but while I was still in that phase, all of a sudden I'm seeing you coming up on YouTube and I'm listening to you, and you're just very much like just kick back, talking to the camera, having a good time, don't seem like you have a care in the world. And it was clear to me that even if we weren't in the same industry because you're with homeowners, that you had figured out some stuff about this industry that allowed you to be able to kind of take it easy and relax while putting money in the bank.
yeah. No, and it's also I it is part of my demeanor in general. Like I don't really get bothered by much, man. I kind of
I
just
can feel that coming off you. I can.
yeah, I kind of just roll with it. That's why I say for me, I always say YouTube is great. I developed my father's, well, I guess I inherited my father's demeanor. I was always the type that even as a kid, man, you want nobody's gonna make me do anything I didn't want to do. I did what I wanted to do as far as like if I saw something I thought was interesting, I just tried it. Just
Yeah.
I didn't care what the fellas would go and think about it. It didn't peer pressure didn't move me. I didn't do stuff. I never did anything because anybody else what they thought, how they felt. That's why I think for me, like somebody like YouTube is perfect because I don't really comments or what do you go possibly say? Like what do you go say to like you go I couldn't even I was talking to my wife, like I can't even imagine what somebody could possibly say that would offend me. Like I don't know, like it's for somebody I don't know. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it just I don't just doesn't do that for me.
Yeah.
And it might just be something that's built in, man. But yeah, I've always been pretty laid back. I've had stress in this business. I've definitely had some stress.
Mhm.
Um, I am a believer in the family unit, a strong family unit. So like a lot of times I've had my daughters helping me, my wife. Sometimes my sister in laws helped. Well, one of my sister in laws, I got seven, six of them. So my wife comes from a big family. Um, but yeah, yeah, we're the type that we try to hold each other down, man. So even if it's not financially, when I started this, she didn't have it. She was just a regular teacher. It's funny because as I built this into what I built it into, I convinced her, well, and that she was wanted to, but convinced her to finish her school. So now we come out the other end where I'm doing this. I started on YouTube. This is growing. She got her doctorate and she's building on that. And
Oh,
it's
that's
just like,
great.
but it's both of us kind of feeding into each other. So
Yeah. My wife's
yeah.
about to start tattooing me. She's gonna have her own studio soon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's been
And
something she's been able to pursue since I've been able to allow her to stay home. She hasn't just been sitting on her butt. She's been doing amazing things with the kids and the house. But also, she's been in an apprenticeship, and so she's now going to be entering a new field where she's going to be I keep telling her it's really no business is different from what we do. They're all really the same. As a
Yeah.
tattoo artist, I've looked at what they all charge and how they run their businesses. It's the same thing. She should be able to get about $100 an hour for her time. She's going to have overhead. She's going to have expenses. She's going to need software to make her business run. She's going to need an accountant. She's going to need a website. And it's kind of all the same thing. And the rules for her for success are going to be the same rules. It's just like say what you're going to do and then do what you said you're going to do. Just
Yeah.
follow through on stuff, be honest, do a good job, charge enough. Also, don't charge too much. Just the same old stuff is going to lead to her having her own full-time business as well.
That's good, man. I've been on my daughters like all these years. I've always told them, man, you got to find something. You can go to college about you. Look, my wife, educator, she's all about the school, and she comes from a family of educators,
Mm.
which I'm with her. But I also teach them that you can also be in an unemployment line with your nice little degree in your hand. So you
Oh
got to
yeah.
find.
There's a
You
lot of
got,
peoples with master's degrees that are getting turned down by JC Penney's.
it's the truth. I work with people when I hate to say it, but I mean, look, I work with people right next to people with master's degrees because they couldn't find jobs, and we're both. One of the jobs I used to do, it was a civil engineering technician, and I worked with people who had degrees, but they just couldn't get the way in, so they had to end up doing the same thing as me. It doesn't always work out how you plan it. So I do have one of my daughter that does she braids hair, and she's been doing it for years. And she actually surprised me because she got her first customer. She was working at she works doing at the pretzel place. She going to college, but she was working at Auntie Anne's and had somebody come walk past her and asked her who did her hair, just a random customer. She struck up a conversation. Next thing you know, ended up being her first customer. That she
Nice.
and I always talk to him. I was like, yeah, you do something like that in college. You work whenever you want. You don't have to be conformed to have to figure out when you can get these hours from this low pay from these fast
Mhm.
food places and stuff. You can,
Yep.
and who knows where it's going to take you. You know,
That's right.
so I'm all about it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, man, thanks so much for showing up. I can't wait to do this again. I'm gonna consolidate my list of all the other stuff that I'm hoping to get to talk to you about, and we will get together super soon to get another one of these going. If that's good with you.
Oh, of course. Like I said, we just scratching the surface, man. We just on not just a business, but
Yeah,
just
just
everything in
stuff.
general.
Everything.
Just
Yep.
stuff. So yeah, no, definitely.
Right
Yeah.
on. Well, thank you for showing up, man. I really appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Appreciate you having me.